G'day everyone, Uncle Jojo Wamjika to another rip-roaring episode of who is the best looking carpenter in the world. Wow, have I got a treat for you guys and gals out there today. Rip-roaring episode on saws and saw blades. We've already talked over hand saws, pull saws, all those kind of jazz. We've got a Japanese saw, pull saw. We've got an old school European push saw. Depending on those saw teeth, depends on what we're cutting and why we're cutting it. Remember the old dance routine. The type of saw we're using is dependent on what we're doing. Ow! So what I've got is a huge pack of different types of saw blades. Circular saw blades. Circular saw blades comes in heaps of different sizes, colours, ranges, all of that kind of jazz. The main thing that you need to know is what you're using it for and the saw that you're using it in. Different saws come with a different sized arbor. This hole in the middle here is called an arbor, and not all saws fit the same arbor. Quite often if you buy a saw blade, it will come with a couple of different shimmies that will sit in there so you can change the size. Or you can buy a saw that specially fits into that arbor. That's a 25mm, 1 inch. That's a 20mm, which is a 4/5 of an inch. You'll notice that these all have patterns on the side of the blades. What that's there for, here's one I prepared earlier. So these patterns help with the heat of the blade and what they're being used for. That's dependent on the thickness of the blade, the material that we're cutting, and all of that jazz. So understand what you're using and what you're doing. Teeth on these comes in a vast variety. So here's a 20 tooth, here's a 40 tooth, and this one here is a 60 tooth. So now you can see why we need to know what we're cutting to understand the blade that we're using. I'll sometimes use a 60 tooth blade on site if I'm doing some really nice, beautiful finished carpentry. If I'm doing framing, I'll use just a 20 or 24 tooth blade. My favorite go-to blade is a 40 tooth. I can use it for almost everything. So I can use it for my basic framing stuff all the way up to my finishing carpentry if I've got a nice sharp blade. The sharpness of the blade is a massive must. You need to keep your blade sharp. You can always sharpen a blade as well if need be. Different thicknesses, well actually let's just talk about sharpening a blade. Come with me and let's check it out. So you'll see here two different types of blade. This one here is a Diablo, great blade, very thick blade as well. This one here is an Irwin, it's a thin blade. So this is only a 1.5mm, and when all of these teeth are nice and sharp, this is almost a 3mm, 2.5 to 3mm. Those teeth that you can see there, just the ends of these can be sharpened or replaced. Most of them these days are tungsten tipped. So tungsten tipped is just that, it's just those little bits there, they're tungsten. And if they flick off, watch out, they can get into your eyes, so always wear safety glasses whenever you can. And they can cost a little bit of a pretty penny to put back on. Sometimes it's easier to throw away a blade or give it to a scrap metal yard rather than getting them resharpened. Other times, it's definitely worth getting them resharpened. I have a number of blades that are well over $200 a blade, and if that's the case, I'll always try and get them sharpened whenever I can, especially for my table saw. For something like this that's got a 60 tooth, I will make sure that I get a really good blade resharpened because then I can use it on red gum or some of my harder timbers. Another quick thing to note when it comes to circular saws is this discoloration. All the time when I'm teaching apprentices, I hear saws like getting strangled. It sounds like they're going through the movie Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock. You've got to make sure that if you see blackness coming up onto your blade, or blackness even worse, or soot onto your material, stop, change the blade. It means that the blade is blunt, or you're cutting on an angle, or maybe even the blade itself is doing a bit of a walk. So make sure that you change the blade. This blade here is a Bosch blade. It's a fantastic blade. I've actually had it sharpened 4 times and it just needs a resharpen and it'll be absolutely Mickey Mouse again. The problem was that the person that was using it didn't understand what they were cutting or how they were cutting it, and they were cutting it to full depth as well. Don't try and cut material to full depth if you can help it. There's many techniques to cutting. That's a different video for a different time. This one here is also being strangled and you can see it's been strangled to the point where it's taken off the actual coating off the blade, as well as blacken the blade all the way around. So please be careful about that. You're gonna leave soot over your material. You can even burn the material so bad that you wreck the end product. So be really careful of that. And the other part of that is, if it does burn and it grabs, it'll spit back at you, and the last thing you want is a saw coming back at you. Always control your tool, or your tool will control you. That's all I've got for you guys and girls out there today. If you've got any questions or queries, flick them over and I'll answer them for you best I can whenever I can. Thanks for watching, and like always, stay unreal, banana peel, and I'll see you in the suit. Do you like that? The type of blade you're using for the project that you're doing. The type of blade you're using for the project that you're using. The type of project you're using for the blade that you're using. The type of blade you're using for the project that you're doing.